Dogs that attack tanks? An outrage over toilet paper? Churchill wanted to build ships made out of what? I thought we knew everything about World War II, but it turns out we don't. I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 obscure World War II facts that will surprise you. 25. Bat bombs. What's a bat bomb? Well, it's exactly what you'd expect. A bat plus a bomb. Specifically, a tiny napalm bomb attached to a bat. The unfortunate creature would be placed inside a shell with a bunch of other bats to be released over the skies of Japan. This crazy scheme was suggested in 1942 by Little Adams, otherwise known as Doc. What was he a doctor of? Dentistry. 24. Suicide subs. Japanese kamikaze pilots are well known. However, they also used the same tactic under the sea. The Kaiten submarines were sent out to engage the enemy with no hope of coming back. These manned torpedoes numbered around 100 and were carried inside bigger subs. 23. Soviet anti-tank dogs. You can train a dog to do a lot of things, but carrying explosives? Well, that was the hope of the Red Army, who wanted man's best friend to become man's worst enemy. Between 1941 and 42, a canine attack strategy targeted at tanks was tried. It wasn't a success. I mean, you've seen how dogs react to fireworks. Aside from just being horribly cruel, this was just wrong-headed. 22. Deal with Coca Cola. Coke is one of the most popular drinks in the world, and the brand owes this success partly to World War II. The all-American brand quenched the thirst of many soldiers who could grab a bottle for the bargain price of 5 cents. These were dispensed by dedicated employees dubbed Coca Cola Colonels. This patriotic business relationship went even further, with 64 portable bottling plants set up overseas to refresh the troops. And if you want to learn more about Coca-Cola and World War II, check out the link here. We did an entire little documentary-style version of the Killer Coke. 21. The Bevin Boys program. The UK's Bevin Boys took their name from Government Minister Ernest Bevin. They avoided the battlefield for this vital role, but still had a tough time underground digging coal and keeping the lights on during Britain's darkest hour. Some 720,000 men were involved. You had a 1 in 10 chance of being conscripted to mining duty as a Bevin boy. 20. Fatal fart facts. It sounds amusing, but letting out a fart was serious business during wartime. If you were an airman, the extreme conditions had a disastrous effect on your intestines. Gas expanded at a horrifying rate of 300%. This reportedly happened at 20,000 feet and spelled big trouble for someone flying in an unpressurized aircraft. 19. Disney designed the war. Did you know that Disney worked with the military? This was already established by the time World War II broke out. Insignias featuring classic characters adorned American and Allied fighting forces. Donald Duck was reportedly the most wanted in combat, which is not surprising because that duck has one heck of a temper. 18. Gandhi's letters to Hitler. If one thing was going to sway Adolf Hitler from carrying out his evil plans, well, then it probably wasn't a letter from pacifist and spiritual leader Mahatma Gandhi. He made 2 attempts to reason with the Fuhrer. One letter was sent pre-war in 1939 and the other in 1940. Each time, he referred to Hitler as "dear friend," which sounds weird, but I guess you wouldn't want to address it "dear mass-murdering scumbag," right? 17. Lethal stationery. Ever heard the expression, "the pen is mightier than the sword"? Well, check out this pencil. It kind of is a sword. This harmless-looking writing instrument was created by the British SOE, or Special Operations Executive. It contained a sharp blade that was wrapped in twine. Pull on the twine, release the weapon, and your enemy receives a nasty surprise. 16. The tall and the short. In a bizarre development, the tallest Nazi soldier was captured by a rather short British serviceman. I mean, everyone would be short next to Jakob Nacken, who at 7'6" had the proportions of a James Bond villain. At 5'3", Corporal Bud Roberts was on the little side compared to that, and someone was on hand to take a photo of the historic meeting. 15. The Americans got more toilet paper than the Brits. How bummed must British troops have felt upon realizing the US Army had an easier time taking care of business than they did? Americans had 22.5 sheets for their daily routine. Meanwhile, Brits made do with 3. A cheeky situation for sure. 14. The German sub sank by a toilet. Forget torpedoes. It was bad plumbing that sank German U-boat 1206 on April 14, 1945. The high-pressure mechanism designed to spew Nazi poop into the ocean malfunctioned with tragic results. Turns out this system wasn't great for deep-sea operations, as the ship's captain discovered when trying to use the facilities. After U-1206 flooded, the crew managed to float the sub, only for them to be attacked by the Royal Air Force. 13. Himmler was a snowflake? Hitler's Nazi friend, Heinrich Himmler, was a true monster of wartime. Though you'll be surprised to hear he seemed quite delicate for someone so destructive. At one point, he decided to go to a spa when the pressure of being an SS commander just got to be too much. Trying to obliterate the free world takes it out of you, am I right? 12. 139 cars. That is the total number of cars that were built in the US during the Second World War. Yeah, for a conflict that relied on vehicles, the amount of new ones was astonishingly small. Of course, you can easily understand why. Typically you'd have millions, but America, had other things on its mind during that period. 11. Hitler lost a lot of generals. The Fuhrer reportedly waved goodbye to 136 of his trusted generals over the course of the war. This translates to approximately one man every fortnight. Meanwhile, 84 Nazi generals also bit the bullet. The bullet in question came from Hitler, who bumped some of them off after they tried to assassinate him. You probably remember the Tom Cruise movie Valkyrie, which detailed one of these plots and the bloody way it ended. 10. You can ram a plane. Well, now this is something I've never heard of before. Is it me, or is the idea of ramming a plane in midair kind of a crazy one? Well, that was exactly the approach taken by Russian pilots during World War II, and the word for it was taran, or aerial ramming. They reportedly downed close to 300 enemy craft through the use of taran. It was also practiced by the Royal Air Force. 9. The SS weren't as German as you think. For an army so hung up on racial purity, you'd think the Nazi elite would be as German as bratwurst dunked in a Jägermeister. But no, the Waffen-SS, or military arm of the organization, featured members who weren't even German nationals. They were in fact various individuals from further afield who donned the uniform, turning on their own countries and helping Hitler achieve his evil objectives. 8. Hitler named his train after America. Not only did the Nazi leader have his own train, but he called it America. This wasn't so much a train as a fortress/hotel on rails. Its maximum capacity was 200 people. While it sounds strange for Hitler to use this name, it wasn't so unusual when you learn about his interest in the United States. For example, did you know he liked watching Mickey Mouse? Which is extra ironic considering Disney were designing insignia for the planes that bombed him. 7. William Hitler. Is everyone with the surname Hitler a Nazi? Of course not. Take William Hitler. He fought on the side of the Americans during World War II. Plus, he was Adolf's nephew. The nephew actually went by the name William Patrick Stewart Houston. He was born in Liverpool, England, and moved to America after attempting to blackmail his uncle. I imagine that they didn't really send each other Christmas cards. 6. What happened to the Japanese Pearl Harbor pilots? Well, I can tell you what happened to one of them, and it's an eye-opening story. Shigenori Nishikaichi had just bombed Pearl Harbor when he crashed it on Niihau, a Hawaiian island. Can you believe that he was given breakfast and performed a musical number at a traditional luau or feast? This was before word reached islanders over his crimes. Things didn't end there, however. He was later helped in an escape attempt by local man Yoshio Harada. The pilot was eventually killed by Ella Kanahele, who he was holding as a hostage. 5. The giant German cannon. This sounds like something out of a cartoon, but it's true. The idea behind the V3 cannon was to take some of the effort out of attacking your enemy. All you needed to do was simply load up a 430-foot-long gun and shoot a thin shell across the water at them. The plan was to go to northern France and unleash hell on London. Thankfully, the Allies bombed the operation out of existence first. 4. Fake factories. A good way of stopping Nazis from bombing your factories is to build a decoy. Manufacturing sites such as the de Havilland Aircraft Factory in Hertfordshire, England, were recreated to fool German pilots. Part of a broader move to make fake targets, the decoys included aircraft as well as buildings. Sound City Studio, based in the iconic filmmaking area of Shepperton, were contracted. They used their movie-making skills against the enemy to great effect. 3. Churchill's ice ships. Project Habakkuk was an abandoned attempt to make warships in a whole new way. Beginning in the early 1940s, British scientist Geoffrey Pike and his team tried to fashion a vessel out of an iceberg. The prototype, named after the biblical prophet Habakkuk, used pykrete, a material that mixed ice with sawdust, based on findings by Austrian chemist Hermann Mark. They figured you could construct aircraft carriers of 2,000 feet from pykrete. Instead, the Churchill-approved project wound up a soggy mess. 2. Pilot training was brutal. World War II pilots needed to be trained, which was a dangerous business in and of itself. Incredibly, over 13,000 Americans died just getting the details right. One tragic accident happened on Christmas Day, 1944, when fog obscured the runway and the Skytrain hit a tree. The number of fatalities during this time is attributed to tight time frames of production during the war. 1. The youngest soldiers. One of the most upsetting facts about the Second World War is the impact it had on children and teenagers. Young people picked up arms along with everyone else. The youngest member of the British Navy to be killed was Reginald Earnshaw, aged just 14. Over in the States, Calvin Graham went into the conflict at the age of 12. He too was a naval serviceman and the youngest American in battle. He thankfully survived, passing away in 1992. The services didn't have a habit of employing kids. These guys just lied about their age so they could fight. So, which of these facts surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments below. Also, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe, click that notification bell, and check out our social medias, including my personal ones, links in the description. And if you want to know more about some other fascinating facts, then here's another video of ours, 25 things about the Revolutionary War you might not know. So check that out. Guess we're on a war kick, so let's keep it rolling. Maybe don't keep wars rolling. Stop the wars, but watch the facts.